Hi, everybody. This is David Ellefson from Megadeth, and you're listening to Backstage Access, where the real show begins.
Gus Gressinger here with Backstage Access. We're here with bassist, author, producer, coffee connoisseur David Ellefson. Many of you know David for his day job, which is playing bass in Megadeth. But this Saturday, April 11th, David's partnering with the Grammy Music Education Coalition to host Oh Say Can You Stream to raise funds for the Schools Out initiative. This will provide online lessons, instruments, gear to kids, aspiring musicians during the quarantine, and other COVID-19 relief charities. Obviously, first question we have for you is tell us about this amazing cause and how you got involved with it.
Yeah, well, thank you. We started the David Ellefson Youth Music Foundation in 2018 as a way to continue to bolster and help bring any type of aid that we could to music programs, particularly in public school systems, but not exclusively to public school systems. I grew up in a rural area back in Jackson, Minnesota, so in particular the rural school districts were of close to my heart with that. And as we turned the corner into 2020, of course, none of us saw this, pandemic coming. I mean, it's just of another level, and I think what really kicked it into gear for us was mid-March when we started seeing schools closing down. My partner, Tom Hazard, and we had a discussion on the phone. Tom had suggested, look, why don't we start just giving bass lessons and music lessons over Skype, just whatever way we can to just kind of start giving people hope, because it's like literally the sky was falling on top of us, and that led to what we're calling the Schools Out initiative. And as that, I reached out to a bunch of my friends, Nita Strauss, Dirk and Kiko from Megadeth, Jimmy DeGrasso, and Bumblefoot, and a whole bunch of other musicians, to ask them if they would be willing to give a little bit of their time to help give these online music lessons and mentorship to students 18 years and under who are out of school. And because we wanted the lessons to be free to the students. And as that started going, I mean, the response was just overwhelming, both from the students who were applying for the lessons and my friends in the business who were so generous to give of their time. And, we thought, to do this, what we're calling a kind of a web telethon, if you will, on Saturday, by having so many of our friends and guests come together for the good cause here, we can do an online fundraiser to raise some additional funds for the foundation so that we can keep this going and continue to have teachers at this level who are professional artists and musicians available to continue to give these lessons to the students.
This is such a huge undertaking. So how is this being coordinated through obviously all these different artists that live in different parts of the country and world? And, who's going to be in charge and spearheading this?
Well, essentially me and Tom Hazard. And, the funny thing about all this is, of course, just like you and me are doing right now, we're on a phone call from opposite ends of the world. That's exactly how this webcast is going to go down on Saturday, is we're all going to be hunkered down in our homes or wherever it is we are, and just doing a web-based broadcast. People can watch it. The public can watch it on my Facebook.com/David Ellefson, as well as YouTube.com/David Ellefson, and over at the Grammy Music Education Coalition, their Twitch channel. And partnering with the Grammys is when we started the foundation right away, we became partnering in with their coalition, and that has really given us a great reach, to put the word out to the biggest reach possible. And so on Saturday, basically Tom and I will be hosting. He's in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. And we're having everybody from Alice and Cheryl Cooper, who ironically are right down the street from me here, about 20 minutes away in Phoenix, but also Bumblefoot, who's in New Jersey, and same with Don Jameson and comedian Jim Florentine, Craig Gass, and Chris Kale from Five Finger Death Punch. They're over in Las Vegas. So as people are getting online to participate in this 8-hour webcast that we're doing, everybody will be doing it from the hopefully the comforts of their home quarantine and lockdown.
Again, where can, because this is very important, I know you mentioned various platforms to go, but probably what would you recommend the best platform to go to participate?
Yeah, if everybody goes to, in fact, our home base is EllefsonYouthMusicFoundation.org.
Okay.
And on that page, there is a donate button up in the right-hand corner, so people can click to donate. You can give $1 if you want, whatever you want to give or are able to give. You can donate there. And also the students who are have an interest in signing up for the online lessons, you can also sign up there. That form is right there on that website as well.
And we'll make sure we put it on our page too, and link it up with the interview so everybody is aware of that. And right now, like, and I mentioned this when I called, that how busy you are, and with this project on Saturday, you also, your solo project, Ellefson, is taking flight with Tom, who you just mentioned, on vocals, and you just released a new track, Simple Truth, and that's going to be also benefiting the COVID-19 relief. And I want you to talk a little bit about that project.
Yeah, for sure. It's this song Simple Truth, we wrote it in Italy when we did a tour of about a 2-week tour back in early November of 2019. And on the first day of the tour, we did a rehearsal, and that's where we wrote this song, and that was in Milan. And our band is from Italy, and they are, of course, on lockdown. Fortunately, they're safe and they're healthy. But we wrote the song there, and we had planned on putting the song out in April here anyway, which was going to be a lead up to some Japanese and Australian tour dates that we had scheduled for May. Which, of course, now have been rescheduled. They're pushed back into, it looks like, February and March of 2021. But instead of pulling the song back, Tom and I chatted on the phone, and, we just decided, let's just put the song out anyway, but let's use that song as a way that we can be charitable with it. So we're giving all the proceeds that come in from the sale of that song. We're going to give all that to the Italian Red Cross COVID-19 Relief Fund. And Italy, of course, is a wonderful place. I've been going there for many years on tour. I was just there in February with Megadeth and Five Finger Death Punch on our tour. And so to see what's happened there it's devastating. So the Simple Truth song will now be used as a way to provide a little bit of charitable relief as well.
Speaking about the dates in Europe that you just played, and when you guys were going through Europe and obviously Italy, like you just mentioned, was there any, because it was just starting to kind of come to fruition, did you guys get any sense of the the magnitude, or was it kind of just, or you weren't aware of it yet, or?
It was weird. It was when we started the tour, second week of January up in Scandinavia. We were all hearing about it over in China. But like a lot of these things, it's a flu. It's a virus that's happening somewhere over there. And as long as it doesn't sort of touch you or anyone in your life, it doesn't hit that close to home. And as the tour continued, it's even when we went to Italy, and I guess that was probably.
That was February, right?
Kind of early, mid-February maybe,
yeah.
Right, when we were in Milan. And things were still fine then. But then as we started to, even a week later, as the tour carried on, suddenly you started hearing more about it. And by the time we wrapped the tour February 23rd, and we were all heading back home to the United States for a little break, it started to get pretty serious in Italy. Things started to really go to the next level there. And, we weren't home really more than a couple of weeks, of course. And suddenly, by mid-March, airports, were stopping flying, and our president had issued the lockdown of no more flights coming from Europe
right.
and the UK over here to America. So all of a sudden it was like, whoa, like in a couple of weeks, it went from from something of note to something of a very serious nature, and, with Megadeth, we were going to perform at the Hell in Heaven Fest in Mexico City mid-March. We opted out of that. And then right after that, we were going to be starting recording the new Megadeth album in Nashville. And that, of course, we had to, push that back now until it's going to be safe for us to be traveling again. And, so it impacted us for sure, and I think that's probably why being home, me and Tom are always busy working on things in the sort of the Ellefson empire, if you will. We're always working on various things. And, that's why when we saw this crisis hitting, we said, we've got this foundation. Let's fire it up and let's see what we can do to try to help right now. So we've been extremely busy, fortunately, doing, just kind of always moving things forward to see how we can help. And I got to be honest with you, that's been very helpful for us. I mean, we're not sitting around sort of moping and lamenting. Rather, every day is a day where it's sort of like being on the front lines and trying to be helpful.
And like you were saying, how busy with the Ellefson Empire, and we're going to rewind a little bit. In last year, you have music productions, and now you Ellefson Films, and you produced the movie Dwellers that came out last year. You also did the second incarnation of your book that came out last year as well. Life After Death, More Life After Death, I believe it was called.
And, More Life with Death.
Yep. And so, I mean, you've been obviously really busy, but talk a little bit about those and, and your other companies that, what you got going on as well.
Yeah, well, that's just it. I think you pretty much nailed it there. That has been it. Yeah, it's funny. Life, I just adopted a mantra: just say yes. Just go. And sometimes the strangest things show up. I mean, I never thought, 20 years ago I'd be having a coffee company of all things. As much as I love going to the movies, I never thought I'd have a film production company, and even writing books. I authored a book, a how-to music book called "Making Music Your Business" back in 1997. It was published, and I love writing. And I've now since written 2 autobiographies, and now Drew Fortier, who is the director of the Dwellers film, he and I are now writing our first fictional novel. So there's always some creative things in the pipeline, and it's an interesting time where being hunkered down right now has in a weird way, it's provided the opportunity to to be still and to sort of quiet the mind and quiet the busyness. And I think in the midst of the quiet time is where the inspiration hits too. And
your history, I think probably people don't know that you hold a business degree in marketing, correct?
I do, yeah. Yep, business admin with a focus on marketing.
And that probably helps with a lot of this, that you're doing these, because you have some little knowledge of, how to prepare and how to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Years ago, I would be flying around the world on these airplanes, sitting next to businessmen up in first class, and I'd always kind of look at them like, gosh, they went to school, they wear a suit, they go to an office, they're like responsible, and here I am playing rock and roll, and like feeling. I'm not gonna lie, I felt a little less than, and part of me is always kind of like I was going, I admire them. They're family guys, they're business guys, they're doing good things with their lives, and not that I wasn't in music, but I kind of wanted to peek over the fence a little bit and kind of have a look into their lives, and that's why in 2005 I went back to school and I finished my online degree. And I love online learning. I toyed with a little bit with the University of Phoenix back in 1990. I guess it was kind of 90. 90, something like that, 95, 97, 98, somewhere in there. I did a few classes, and I liked it. It kind of helped kill the time on tour, and so I got serious in 2005, and I got my degree done, and what I realized was I already knew more than I kind of gave myself credit for, and I think by having the academic learning process. Academia shapes your mind in a different way. And the discipline of following through on the degree, I think, was important to me. And I think it set a good example for my kids my son's finishing his MBA in finance and sports management, and my daughter's at ASU in the nursing degree program. So I think for Dad here to get his degree, it set a good model for my kids as well.
And that's why I kind of mentioned that. I think that's very important that, education can go along with music and and you're obviously a good spokesman for that.
Good. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And you're right. It did. I think it did help. At the time it was interesting. I was running the global artist relations for a big music instrument company called Peavey. And I was going to school. I was working for them for my home office here in Scottsdale. And it was a really nice marriage of learning academia, yet having the hands-on learning that I was developing by working for a big global manufacturing conglomerate like Peavey. And I'm a good hands-on learner. It's how I learned music. It's how I've learned the music business. Is you just jump in. You go, I don't know how this is going to work, but let me jump in and figure it out. And that's just kind of the guy that I am. So by doing it, it was a good way to have a hands-on learning while going to school at the same time.
And with all that going on, you actually relaunched Combat Records last year too. Tell us the reasoning why you decided to do that.
Well, it's funny because Tom called me up and he said, hey, we can acquire Combat Records and do a relaunch of it. And my first thought was, Dave and I did not have the best experience on Combat Records with Killing Is My Business many years ago. So
right.
I'm not going to lie, I was a little, I had a little bit of a sour attitude about it, but Tom gave me a different perspective. He's a little bit younger than I, and he goes, listen, man, you in particular with Megadeth, you guys, that the Combat was the house Megadeth bill, and as a result of that, everything from the Circle Jerks to Exodus to, all these great, Possessed and all these great records that were released on Combat, you got that label changed lives for a lot of us that were my age, that were into punk and metal, and so I had to really take that to heart, and I love the idea. I mean, I thought it was a cool idea because Combat is a cool brand, and so we did. We acquired the trademark and we relaunched it, and it's a special home for records that we put out. It's like everything doesn't go there. We're very particular about the records that we put out through Combat.
And another venture and project that you had, or I should say have, probably put to the side, is Altitudes and Attitudes with Frank Bello. What's the status of that?
I love doing that project with Frankie. Frank and I, we just found a real kinship and a brotherhood with that that band, and we are going to be on the Monsters of Rock cruise in February 2021. So we will be back out playing. I'm hoping maybe a new song or two, even if we just put it up digitally to have some new material out, because we're already working on some new stuff while we were on tour together last year. So I'd love nothing more than to get back in the studio with Frank again.
And of course, what everybody loves to talk about is Megadeth and the summer tour that's supposed to be happening, or maybe who knows what's going on. This is why I got to ask. The tour with Lamb of God, Trivium, and In Flames. Is any talk about rescheduling, postponing? Do you know anything that's going on with that?
Right now everything is a go, and it's a go until at such point it isn't. Obviously there's a lot we don't know about all this. So, right now the dates are scheduled to start in June through July is the first leg, and then the second leg is October, November. If it comes to a point where we have to make some adjustments, obviously we will. But for now, we're, planning on things to move ahead as best we can on the schedule.
And you already talked about the status of the new Megadeth album. That I believe the songs are they completed, or is it just recording part, or where are we with the status?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, look, we've got the framework of the tunes are there. I mean, to the point that we were ready to cut bass and drums and start tracking those and have that done. There's a few lyric things that we're still kicking around, but for the most part, the body of the record is there.
And will that actually be recorded before the dates possibly happen, or is everything really a big question mark right now how that happens?
Yeah, it's kind of a question mark. Again, we were scheduled to be in end of March and have all the bass and drum, basic tracks done. But now with, travel being what it is, and, we're asked to stay at home to flatten the curve, as they say, and keep it flattened. Now it's all a little bit subject to just following the health mandates and everything. So as soon as we can, believe me, we will be in recording.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us at Backstage Access, and if everybody can check out the Schools on Island initiative this Saturday, which is going to be pretty much all day. We will list the multiple platforms as this is going to be streaming. And we do appreciate Mr. David Ellefson for taking the time to talk to Backstage Access today.
Cool. Thanks so much, guys.